The 100-Hour War, or better known as the Soccer War, was a conflict held between the two Central American countries of El Salvador and Honduras. Though it's a surprisingly short stint in global history, it is still very well remembered in the history of each respective country. It was a battle between peoples, cultures, and heritage, but most importantly, deep-rooted nationalism, all revealed over the guise of simple football matches. Today I stand here to explain the causes of this war, what it did to each country during it, and the effects it had on the governments and local communities. Though the war technically started over football placement matches for a spot at the World Cup in 1970, the seed truly sprouted through each country's own misfortunes. El Salvador, a small country, just over 8,000 square miles, was facing economic disparity, as its population grew at an alarming rate in contrast to its agricultural outputs, the main source of the country's income at the time. Simply put, there was nowhere near enough resources for each Salvadorian to go around, and not even to let them live a prosperous life. Honduras was a much bigger country than El Salvador, over 43,000 square miles to be exact, yet at the time had a much lower population, but had greater opportunities agriculturally, causing the illegal immigration of thousands of families and Salvadorians over the shared border, in search of something greater that was not present in their own country. Honduras still faced economic hardship, although, and corrupt leader Oswaldo Arellano blamed much of the hardship on the illegal immigration of these same Salvadorians, claiming they were taking valuable jobs and land. Local Hondurans, however, began assaulting and harassing the Salvadorians due to his comments, despite them already being there for generations and building families at this point. The Honduran government began deporting these families back to El Salvador, an already overcrowded country, igniting tensions further and further, ruining diplomatic relations. And then the tipping point came. The qualification matches for the 1970 World Cup in Mexico. 3 matches set to play between the two countries. The first match was in Honduras, with Honduran fans reported to be smearing and harassing the El Salvador supporters at the match. They even attacked the players, not allowing them to rest for the upcoming game, resulting in a 1-0 loss in favor of Honduras. This loss in particular was too much for a certain Salvadorian fan, Amelia Bolaños, and soon after the game, she committed suicide. The girl became a national hero in El Salvador and a symbol of pride for one's own country, and it caused an uproar in preparation for that next game, which happened to be in El Salvador. At the game, Salvadorian fans were reported to be doing the same thing that Honduran fans previously did to them, not allowing the players to sleep and staying outside their hotel the entire night. The fans even smeared the Honduran flag at the game and put a white one instead. In the second game, it was a 3-0 result in favor of El Salvador. The next game was everything. Securing a spot would mean everything to each country, but only one would be able to get through. In this match, however, El Salvador would emerge victorious with a 3-2 result in the 90th minute. And with this victory, Salvadorian immigrants would face harsher punishments and beatings in Honduras than ever before. They would be thrown off their land, their families would be separated, and homes even burned down. This would be too much for El Salvador, and they would respond militarily. On July 14th of 1969, El Salvador launched an invasion on their neighboring country. The 100-Hour War began. On the first day, Salvadorian forces bombed airports and hangar bases, notably the capital of Honduras, in order to halt air assault from Honduran forces, and moved on foot with tanks and thousands of enraged soldiers. With the help of Nicaragua, however, Honduran forces were able to bomb supply lines aiding the Salvadorian front. The Organization of American States, better known as the OAS at the time, had actually been able to mediate the conflict between the two countries and had orchestrated a ceasefire soon after the beginning of the war. Still, upwards of 6,000 lives had already been lost at the point. Along with this, the ceasefire came with the guaranteed protection of Salvadorian immigrants back to El Salvador from Honduras. That still left unresolved problems between the two countries, however. Resulting from the war was even more economic struggle, as El Salvador had been unable to take care of all the returning immigrants from Honduras, and was slowly inching towards a civil war that would occur soon thereafter, and Honduras found their economic instability so bad that they were unable to repair a lot of the damage that had been done by the Salvadorian forces. Each of the countries had failed to gain anything from the war, with even the El Salvador football team losing every match in the world losing every match in the World Cup that they had worked so hard to secure. The Sock War, known to be over 3 matches of football, was actually more than that. It was a show of how politics and nationalism could be mixed with seemingly harmless sports events. It involved the mistreatment of people for decades, and in those decades, further brewing of unresolved conflicts between the two countries that they never allowed themselves to fix. It involved issues with local communities, with respective economies, but of course, over the game of football. Thank you for your time.